Change moves at the speed of readiness. That's why readiness is the most potent predictor of change success. But not all readiness is the same. There are different types and levels of readiness. Taking time to understand, build, and work with the different types of readiness enables a robust and healthy organization with employees who don't fear change. Stay tuned. In this video, I want to share with you 3 types of readiness for change, why they are important, and what you can do to build readiness. Hello, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Dawn Marie Turner, President of Turner Change Management and creator of the Readiness Mindset. Readiness is not just the absence of resistance. When I start to explore readiness with leaders, they often talk about the absence of resistance. They describe the actions and behaviors that people won't do. For example, they talk about people not questioning the change, making or not making negative comments, and they don't put up barriers. There are 2 problems when we view readiness as simply the absence of resistance. The first is that many of the actions, the attitudes, and even the behaviors described as resistance are normal and necessary to build readiness. For example, asking questions, challenging the need and outcome signal an early level of readiness. Other behaviors or attitudes such as a lack of buy-in or really hanging on to that current state are also normal, and they too are early signs of readiness that can help you when planning for your changes. The second problem is that a lack of resistance doesn't mean we will let go and adopt those new activities or behaviors. For that, we need readiness. Readiness is the willingness, the capability, and the commitment that you or someone else has to moving towards something new or different. It is the precursor for all change. That's why I've advocated for over 20 years for leaders to stop managing resistance. Instead, I show them how to adopt and use a readiness mindset. With a readiness mindset, you prevent resistance and you focus on enabling all 3 types of readiness: organizational, people, and personal readiness for change. It's helpful to understand the difference between organizational and people readiness. These 2 types of readiness are often confused or viewed as the same thing. They're not. Organizational readiness without people readiness won't be enough to enable sustainable change in your organization. Organizational readiness refers to the specific tasks, events, and work required to prepare your organization for the change and ensure the event can be completed. For example, I asked one manager who was describing his organization as ready. What did that mean for him? And what he described was that they had purchased the hardware and the software. The implementation of that hardware and software was done. The upgrading and other supporting technology was in place, and they had the approval from the executive to move forward. When I asked about the people and their level of readiness, he kind of hesitated and then stated, well, the vendor's going to provide training, and in a couple of weeks, everyone will be trained. Yet, he was struggling to get people engaged, and they were, in his words, resisting the move to the new system. This was a great example of where the organization was ready, but the people who would need to adopt those new activities and behaviors were not. People readiness is the willingness and the ability of a person to engage in the activities and behaviors needed to move through the change process and enable the organization or them to achieve a desired, intended outcome. Building people readiness requires a different set of actions, and it also needs a different timeline. You need to start sooner. Often you need to start building readiness even before you have officially launched a change initiative or project. People readiness is about all of the activities needed to prepare people. And often those activities are less tangible. They include things like helping people connect with why this change is needed, why now, and why them, understanding its fit within their world, building their perceived capability, intrinsic motivation, and building knowledge and skills to learn those new activities and behaviors. It's possible to have high levels of organizational readiness without people readiness. Yet it's the people readiness that's going to drive your success. The third type of readiness is a component or part of people readiness. It's our personal change readiness. I've promoted and encouraged leaders to build people readiness for over 2 decades. And several years ago, I began to notice the struggle that employees were having with organizational changes that they had no control over. And the leaders weren't able to create the level of people readiness that was necessary. And that's when I discovered another aspect of people readiness. I call it personal change readiness. Our personal change readiness, yours, mine, your team and employees, reflects our conscious and unconscious beliefs, our values, our willingness, our history, and our ability to engage with the change. As we develop high levels of personal change readiness, then we can interact instead of reacting to change events. Flexibility, resilience, compassion, and a sense of control. Not control in a force it to be different sort of way, but in a way that lets you see the options, choose to interact, and move with the events as they occur, are all part of our personal change readiness. One of the things that we teach to employees when they go through our stress management for change program is how to build our own personal change readiness so that we can find stability and balance in the midst of constant change. I did a previous video on personal change readiness and building personal change readiness. I'll put the link in the show notes below. Readiness allows organizations and people to grow with change, to become healthier and stronger because of change. Change is a necessary part of organization and in life. Even if we just sat in a chair all day and did nothing, you would have changed by the end of the day. Readiness, organizational, people, and personal readiness allows us to grow with change and not simply react to it. One final note about readiness. Readiness for change doesn't mean that everyone will adopt or even like every change event that occurs, whether it's in your organization or in our life. We are not wired that way. What adopting a readiness mindset and focusing on building readiness helps you to do is to create an internal and external environment that enables you to stay present, feel prepared, and interact consciously with the events that are occurring. When we do that, you can move through change with less stress and discomfort. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn more about how to adopt and use the power of a readiness mindset, reach out and let's have a conversation. Bye for now.